Mary Stoker-Smith, because now this procession is moving. It's coming right your way. Mary, what are you seeing?
That's right. You can hear it, and you can see it. The motorcycle officers officially beginning the procession right there in earnest. And you can see the numerous motorcycle officers making their way. This is always the beautiful start of it. Let me step out of the frame here because you can see that scene. Full lights, some sirens, and this is kind of the start of the envoy, as you will. A lot of the officers there in their cars just waiting for the motorcycle unit here to lead them down this 9-minute drive as they are making their way north right now, as they pull out north there on Barker Road, and then they will make their way to Capitol, and eventually they will be going to the Wisconsin Memorial Park, where Officer Kendall will be laid to rest. It is quite a scene. It is quite a sight. Take it all in. It's a sad day. It's a day that they hope they never have to come here to Elmbrook Church, because as I talked to a few earlier today, this is like deja vu. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that we said goodbye to Officer Jerving, and now you have Officer Kendall Porter, who will lie buried not that far from Officer Jerving and Officer Mahalski, all officers killed in the line of duty. You see the black, and notice the black ribbon, the black cloth right there over the Milwaukee Police Squad right there. First I've seen of that cloth over there, but that cloth over many of the badges here today as they remember Officer Porter, a symbol, of course, of the reverence and of the duty and of the honor that they are paying toward him.
And Mary, so
there,
far,
of course, you were seeing the
sorry to interrupt, but the first
Yep.
Officers that we're seeing from the Milwaukee Police Department.
Absolutely, and you saw the hearse there. Now these two buses that you're seeing, are these two vans right here, these white vans, we were told by the Milwaukee President Association, the president of the Milwaukee Police Association, that those are the family members of Officer Porter in those particular white vehicles that you just saw right there. They are obviously one of the first to leave, and they will be going to the cemetery. This has been open to the public, the visitation today and the funeral, and now the family, as they make their way for the final burial, has asked for privacy. They will have moments of privacy and just moments between them, family members, to say goodbye to their beloved. He was known as such a great uncle, really, a great family member, a great brother, and so that's what we were just seeing, and now we're seeing some civilian vehicles, as you can see there. And as we talked about, some of the officers who are coming from other parts of the country, of course, who didn't drive, they're waving and accompanying their fellow officers here as they're leaving Elmbrook Church here in Brookfield. Steady stream right now. It's going along pretty well. We waited quite a while, and now those vehicles are making their way out in a pretty good clip there.
And Bria Jones is not too far from you, right? And she's also seeing these as people on the side are there waving flags and just, you know, showing their support.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the crowd here has grown exponentially as if from, I would say, right about 5 o'clock on right now. There's quite a crowd, people waving, people carrying their flags, people with hands on their hearts.
All right,
it's still very emotional out here.
Well, let's go up to Ashley Sears, because it's heading your way, Ash. And one thing I noticed right out of the front of this, it's very fitting on a weekend where thousands are coming to Milwaukee to honor Harley Davidson. Who's leading the procession? A bunch of Harley Davidson's bikes, because that is what the Milwaukee Police Department rides, and there's so much community pride in things that we make here, and community pride in the people who work here, including these officers. So, Ash, what are you seeing from your location?
We saw those early police squads come through and shut down the road. And as we've been waiting here, we've seen some cars pulling off to this side as this crowd grows along here, holding flags. You see another car here pulling over to the side, holding flags and just waiting for this procession to come through. It's getting much larger. When we stood out here earlier today, I believe there were 2 people who were here when we first arrived. Then that grew to 5. I believe there's close to 12 people out here right now. But everyone out here just wanting to pay their respects to Officer Corder. We're waiting for that procession to come through here. Not quite seeing it yet, but we will certainly have those images for you when that arrives here.
From what we're seeing, Ashley, we're going to take it back here in the studio. Just look at just that sea of blue and red, the flashing lights as this procession makes its way to the cemetery.
Look at the dozens of Harley Davidsons right there. Just a powerful moment as this is moving north on Barker Road. Again, this procession, two roads here, north on Barker. Once they hit Capitol, it will turn east and head towards Sam Kramer at Wisconsin Memorial Park, where there's a giant American flag. But look, you can see there on the left, Kim, of just people. They've gathered all along the route here to pay a moment of respects to the police department and this fallen officer.
Let's talk two things on the flag. First of all, Governor Evers ordered the flag, and all flags in the state, to be flown at half staff. That means from sunset or sunrise to sunset. So if you see flags that are lowered, that is the reason. Secondly, the presentation of the flag that was draped on Officer Corder's casket. It's very precise the way the flag is presented, how it's folded, and it was another one of those moments that just gripped your heart.
This whole day and this is all about symbolism and respect and honor and duty and the history of this department. The first officer who was killed from the Milwaukee Police Department was in the late 1800s. An individual who was doing the rounds came across a guy he thought was suspicious. They actually never found the suspect who killed the first member of the police department. I believe the year was 1884. So there is some history with this department and sadly history of fallen officers. And this police department says when we lose an officer, we will never forget. And you can read the history of every single officer who has lost their lives in the city of Milwaukee. But there is, you can see it, everything. It's just so emotional when you've realized the history behind the department and the job that these guys do.
But just the Milwaukee department, I mean, we want to wrap our arms around them, especially because they have suffered the shootings of 4 officers, I believe, in the last, 3 officers in the last month. And each of those shootings, we could have had this scene. We have one fallen officer that we are mourning, but 2 other officers were also wounded doing their jobs.
And again, you're just seeing the people stop and waiting. Did you see earlier someone was putting the thumbs up? You're seeing people wave.
I'm wondering if we can hear a little bit of the audio of the cars. I know they don't have their sirens on, but just hear a little bit. It's one thing to see it, but just to hear it. Maybe there's no audio there, so we will just continue to take in those pictures. But we've got departments from all over the state.
And we'll try and read some of these departments. Maybe we can open up Mary Stoker-Smith's mic here too. And Mary, because now this procession continues to come out of the church. What are you seeing? Where are the officers from that you're seeing as they drive on by?
City of Mosinee, Mount Pleasant, the city of county of Racine, of course. Now we just saw Baraboo. Every single squad is from a different part of this state, and it's just been amazing to read all the names as we go there. There's De Pere over by Green Bay. We saw Green Bay. There's the State Patrol. Round Lake Beach, if you know where that is. That's another group of people coming to pay their respects. We have seen squad after squad after squad, and there's probably about anywhere between 3 to 4 to 5 people in those squads. Hales Corners, just showing you the number of people that have come out. Here's Oak Creek, as we have seen, again, local police departments, members of the Milwaukee Sheriff's Department, of course, members of MPD, but it's just amazing when you see the outpouring of support. People who have come from every single section. We've talked about around the country, but these are our local police officers right there, just coming out one after one after one. Sparta, that's over by the La Crosse areas, the western part of the state. Another Milwaukee squad. It just doesn't end, and it just, your heart that is so heavy right now is full. Nishkoro, you see all this, Johnson Creek, they are sending as many people as they can to pay their respects and to let these officers know, we got your back. You're not alone. We know what you're going through. Sun Prairie, of course, by Madison. It's just overwhelming.
And
a lot of them have been holding their phones because they want to mark. Yes. Yeah, West Bend. And again, a lot of them, as I mentioned, just holding their phones and waving at us as well. A few of them just try to take in the moment as they let this sink in after the funeral service that they heard, and now they are making their way to the cemetery. You can only imagine the conversations that they're having inside of their squads. Muskego, and it's just, you kind of wonder, Slinger, Jackson, how many of them are having conversations about what happened and about the everyday circumstances where they are putting themselves in the line of duty. We went, as you mentioned, over 20 years without an officer-involved shooting, and now there has been a series of challenges and a series of shootings in just a short amount of time. And so you think about the dangers that they're facing every single day.
Yeah, and
I don't know if you can read some of these.
Yeah, we've actually taken a shot of the front here as the Harley-Davidsons that are leading the way, the motorcycle bikes. This is the front of the procession that we're watching right now. But Mary, you know what's amazing? As you're reading off the names, we should know these officers, they don't know each other. And this is the common link, the job that they have and the dangers that they all face when they put on that uniform. It's a common thread.
It really is. And only they know what it's like to say, I'm going to make it home tonight. That's my goal. Imagine leaving for work, and that's one of your number one goals. Yes, you have a job to serve and protect, but you also want to make it home alive. You put on the bulletproof vest, you put on the badge, you carry the gun, but it is not guaranteed that you're going to come home. And a lot of times it's just so unpredictable. You don't know the situation that you're called to. They know what this is like. And so they're able to talk, they're able to grieve together, they're able to really just kind of sort through their emotions. Physically, obviously, this has been a long day. It was a rainy day. The sun came out just as the funeral ended today. But the emotions there's still a dark cloud. There's still a lot of heavy emotions and angst about how many dangerous situations that they're in every single day. So it has just been a day full of emotion. And again, I'd say the emotions probably now are even higher than they have been all day. We see a little bit of a slowdown here as we see the procession coming out. They're coming out at quite a clip there, but right now just a little bit of a lag, because again, you've got about 300 to 400, probably even 500 cars coming out of the Elmbrook Church right now, we have been told. And obviously from many different departments, but obviously departments all over the country. So they have a lot to get to. All the way from Menasha, we see 2 squad cars there, to Manitowoc and Oshkosh. They're from everywhere. It really is a reverent tribute to pay respects to a man, as you mentioned, Ben, a lot of these officers never met, didn't know about, perhaps had never heard Kendall Corder's name until this tragic situation that ended his life 3 days after June 26th, when the initial thing happened. We were all praying, of course, for a better outcome. Christopher McCrae, his partner, suffered a foot injury. He was here today, and we hoped that he would pull through, but sadly he did not. And as we have learned so much more about Officer Corder, you couldn't help but smile when you heard some of these stories about his personality, his larger-than-life presence, but his extremely soft heart and his connection to this community and his willingness and his real desire and enthusiasm to serve, protect, and wear that uniform with honor.
And the support that we're seeing, not just for Officer Corder, but
yes,
it's got to also be reinforcement for all the officers to know that the community supports them, the community realizes the tremendous loss this is.
Yeah, and they were saying that they were so touched, many I talked to, that people are just saying thank you. I think just the recognition to know that they are out there every day protecting us, that's really, really what they wanted to hear. And again, all this is such an emotional support for them to know that so many officers are here, probably exchanging numbers too, you know, exchanging texts. Hey, call me if you need somebody to talk to. Call me if you need a shoulder to cry on. And so it's just particularly emotional when the official declaration of end end of watch came just after 5:45 today, you felt the sadness, but you also felt, a bit of a relief that his family now can continue to bring closure and to grieve this decorated officer, just over 6 years on the force, 32 years old, who was a star in Cudahy, a great athlete, but also a great chess player and a wonderful uncle and a wonderful family member who brought so much joy to so many people's lives. He will be remembered, obviously, at this memorial service today, but also he will be put in a casket and put into a crypt here at the Wisconsin Memorial Park, and that's where the family will have a private ceremony after this to honor his life. But we have seen such an outpouring and this growing sea of people here. I can't tell you how many people have come out now in the last hour. We got at least 100 to my left right now, just standing, waving at police, hand on heart, some of them just very emotional, saying, "Thank you. We appreciate all that you do." It's quite a scene.
Mary, thank you. We're going to check in now with some of our other crews.
I want to go up the road to Ashley Sears because there's this procession. Again, it's a 9-mile trip that's going from the church to Wisconsin Memorial Park. There's been anticipation up the road. Ashley Sears, what's the moment like as this procession is now reaching you?
Yeah, the procession is now approaching us here on Capitol, and there is silence out here as these motorcycles are moving through Barker Road onto Capitol. The crowd out here has grown significantly. At last check, I counted more than 30 people out here, including employees of the Toyota dealership who have stepped out as well to pay their respects. But this is quite the sight to see with all of these red and blue lights.
Yeah, let's just take a moment.
Motorcycles.
Let's just take a moment and listen to this, Ash, because this, as you said, this is an incredible sight. So they've made the turn now, as we just saw from Ashley Sears' camera. They are now heading east on Capitol, so they're just minutes away now.
Approaching Sam Kramer, who's at the cemetery there, and so as soon as he sees that convoy of motorcycles arrive, we're going to switch to that camera. But you see the folks who are gathered with the American flag, and they're just waving and showing their support.
And as Ashley said, I mean, everything just got quiet. These people had been waiting out there, some of them for hours. They've been chatting all day, and then as soon as the rumble of the police motorcycles started to come down the street, everything got silent. Look at this picture as we're looking live, Barker Road. These are all of the squad cars. This is way behind where Ashley Sears is, too. This is close to where the church is. So an incredible image as law enforcement are paying their respects to a fallen member, one of their own. And
it's not just today that they're paying their respects. The moment that an officer is injured, it goes out across within the, they've got a network. And so Prayers started coming in the moment that Officer Corder and his partner were shot. Prayers and thoughts from departments all over Wisconsin saying, we've heard about it, we are praying, you're in our thoughts, we're here for you if you need us. So this is just a continuation of the support that has been given to the Milwaukee Police Department over the last week and a half.
And one part of the story I don't think has been told enough, it is not just the officers who were by Kendall Corder's side from the very beginning. There were members in that neighborhood where this shooting happened. What did they do? First, they called 911 when they saw someone with a weapon and there was shenanigans going on in their street. Who did they call? They called the police officers. But then when the shooting occurred, they rushed to help him. Right. And the police chief, from the very get-go, thanked those community members. And here we're seeing, and these are a lot of people who live in Brookfield, don't live in the city of Milwaukee. They're paying their respects, but also in the city of Milwaukee, some of the people that were right by that officer's side from the very beginning, they were people who lived in that neighborhood.
Saying that they owe everything to Officer Corder. They were frightened. There was a man out in front of their apartment threatening to shoot in the building, and they called for help, never imagining that it would end with an officer giving his life. And so they recognize the huge sacrifice that was made to protect them.
And in some of the court documents, Officer McCrae, after he was shot, he says he looked up and there was someone standing over Kendall Corder's body. He thought it may have been the suspect. Who was that? It was just a good Samaritan who, like these police officers do every day, rushed to the line of fire, rushed right up to help him.
To protect the officer.
To protect the officer. So he was right by his side, and Officer McCrae saying it took him a second to realize what was going on because all of this was unexpected. But from the very get-go, there were people by this officer's side.
And to see Officer McCrae still healing. He was shot and had to go through surgeries, and he is still in a wheelchair, but he was there to see his partner, to continue supporting and protecting him.
And we've learned so much about Kendall Corder today. One of my favorite moments today when they talked about his appetite. I mean, this is a big dude,
yeah.
As you were saying, one of the training officer described him, but the captain of District 2 called them quarter orders. These are big food orders. We heard from the police detective, Keith Miller, who was his field training officer, saying, you know, there was a time they'd become friends. So he, at one point, was training him. Suddenly, there seems like best friends are smoking cigars together. They're hanging out. They go to Buffalo Wild Wings. And he brought this up in his eulogy today, which I thought was so fitting because it let us all know what kind of an officer this was. Says, well, the detective agreed to pay for the meal. Instantly regretted it when he ordered 20 wings at full price.
Like, okay, not the kids' meal.
So I believe that's a quarter order for you.
And Officer Corder, we've been very lucky to have videos of him speaking about the joy in being a police officer. And it just, you saw those videos and you know that he did these videos on his own. Like, you know, he wasn't arm twisted to talk about what it's like, what it means to be a police officer. He spoke from his heart about the calling and what a joy it was to be a police officer. And you've got to imagine that there are young people who have seen that video, have learned more about him, and perhaps will be inspired to follow in his footsteps.
And so many people talked about his smile today, the big smile. And
from a baby, he had that smile.
And we saw it today in that video that the police department put out a few days after his death, too, where we're seeing the officer talk about how he was proud to be a Milwaukee police officer, and you just see this big smile. So here's a new image here from Capitol as we're seeing once again the motorcade arrive. So let's listen in again if we've got audio on this camera as once again a new image here for you.
roughly Capitol and Calhoun there. We saw the Hearst pass by. So they're getting closer to Wisconsin Memorial Park.
9 miles. Do we have a shot from the beginning just to show you? I mean, we're nearing the end of this 9-mile journey, but I believe there's still vehicles flooding out of Elmbrook Church as well. As it looks like they have just left there. So
did you see the man in our last shot standing at attention, saluting as the Hearst went by? That sums up what this afternoon really has been about. Honoring this person, their life, and how they lived it.
And you can see there are cars that are kind of stuck in traffic, but this is a kind of day where I do not think they're going to mind, as they're going to wait for this to move on by again as it moves up Barker Road and then east. So if we're at Calhoun and Capitol, we're very close to getting towards Sam Kramer and the end of the journey. Just to be an officer in this car and see person after person waving the flag and either giving you a salute or a thumbs up or a wave, that this has to be an emotional journey for every single one of these officers or deputies, or we have federal agents here in here as well. Maybe you're a special agent in the FBI. Just, it's got to be a touching movement for every single person who is in this motorcade right now. And
I've also been struck by officers that there was no time, a grief period to be off. The police, the city does not shut down. So in the hours following the shooting of officers Quarter and McRae, officers still had to report to work. They returned the next day. Some other departments were there to help and fill in the gap, but by and large, Milwaukee police officers still had to report to their jobs as one of their own was fighting for his life in a hospital and another wounded. You know, the job just doesn't stop. No, it does not stop. The dangers do not stop. The call here, very ordinary for Milwaukee police officers. It was a shots fired call. That is something that officers every single night in this city, they respond to. And you just never expect this, even though we've seen, sadly, Kim, time and time again now, the realities of what it is to be a police officer in our country right now. Some of the more public memorials, the squad car, officer quarters, and McRae's squad was parked, positioned after the shooting outside of their district. And people all week have been coming, leaving cards and flowers and just showing appreciation and acknowledging the grief, the loss felt by the department, but especially from his district. Bishop Darrell Hines, the church that this officer's family attended, gave the eulogy, and I thought he had a great message. He was saying this is the God of comfort. This is part of the process in the healing process. It starts today with obviously the funeral and the mourning, and all of these officers, the difficulties that they are facing now and in the days ahead. You said it, Kim, they have not had a chance to grieve. And some of these officers, it's a dangerous thing when it's go, 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 and you haven't had time to stop and realize how this has affected you. We've talked to mental health professionals that say it's so important to realize that. And trust me, the police department, they have the resources. They're going to make sure their officers are okay. And we hope that the officers who need the help and need just a second to breathe, maybe, you need some time off, you need to take it, because it really can get dangerous if you don't. And we hope that the community does not stop wrapping their arms around our police officers just because today was the burial, the funeral services. The officers are going to need a lot of time, and who wouldn't? If your coworker, someone in your profession is taken, their life taken. It's a 32-year-old man who wanted to be a father, and you saw that in the pictures. Great uncle, always, seemed to be surrounded by kids. There's another shot. Look at this line of cars. This is a great shot because look how far we can see, how far this stretches. This is Calhoun and Capitol as they're making their way closer and closer where Sam Kramer is at Wisconsin Memorial Park now. And maybe we can open up Ashley Sears' mic again, who's farther down near the turn where these guys turn. Because, Ash, you had a great shot just a second ago. All those people, they're sitting in silence as they're watching these cars move on by.
Yeah. It's moments like these where, you know, you hold on to those that you love, and you see kind of, there's a mother like embracing her daughter out here. You realize how lucky you might have it. And really, there is silence out here as this moment is particularly somber. People just saying thank you as each and every one of these police squads pass by. Some people waving, and we're also seeing the officers wave back. And you know, this means a lot to them as well, that there are people out here showing support for the men and women in blue. Ben and Kim.
Just a wave of a sea of people as well, that, you know, more and more people, I think, are joining to see and support the officers as they pass.
And Ash, as you're sitting there along the street, it just has an unending feeling. It's just police car after squad car after deputy goes by.
Yeah, we don't see an end in sight out here. And people aren't leaving, you know, people are staying here as each and every one of these squads passes. It seems as though hundreds have already passed, and looking off in the distance, it looks like there's hundreds more to come. And everyone out here just taking in this moment and saying thank you.
An incredible shot from Skyfox as we're getting very close to Wisconsin Memorial Park. Do you look at the line?
So the motorcycles, and there were, it seemed, 1 million of those, now followed by squads. And
it looks like it's to eternity. Every single light you see there, that is a police squad as it heads closer and closer here to the cemetery, where again, all these officers will go one way and the family will go another to have a service. Again, Wisconsin Memorial Park, a great gift to this family. The officer has a crypt. It has been donated, no cost to the family.
And, you know, just the planning and all of that burden taken from the family as a way to support them. The Milwaukee Police Association, very instrumental in just making the arrangements. And now we are starting to see the crowds at Wisconsin Memorial Park, the cemetery there, and the first officers are arriving.
Let's listen as Officer Kendall Quarters hearse now arrives here at the cemetery. Those officers have gotten off. Sam Kramer's there. Sam, this is something we haven't seen on the procession so far. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so just within the last half hour to 45 minutes, the crowd here has grown really 2- or 3-fold. A lot of people have come over past the median here on Capitol Drive. They're on the grass outside of Wisconsin Memorial Park, and these motorcycle officers have all just parked their bikes. They're gotten off, and they're standing now at attention. As I'm looking down the street, it's hard to see because this crowd keeps fanning out into the street, but it looks like it's finally starting to approach here. And that volume change you guys mentioned seems to be happening now. We've got another station's helicopter overhead, and traffic still flowing on the north side of Capitol heading westbound. But the people that are here have quieted down. They've been watching their phones or tablets, trying to see where this procession is. And then the arrival of these motorcycles has kind of brought a little bit of a lull as the public understands what's about to happen.
And we are getting a view from up above, and we can see officer quarters, hearse making its way there. And on each side, there is a motorcycle patrol, 2 on each side, emphasizing again that he has not been left alone. An officer has been there defending him until it's time to send him to his next life.
And here it's turning into Wisconsin Memorial Park, where members of the Honor Guard are also waiting at attention as well.
Officer Kendall, 32 years old, was just excited to be a police officer and looked forward to the next chapters in his career with the department.
And a relatively new officer as well.